Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CLSR. And I'm your host, the counselor. And today we're going to be talking about accepting your body. I mean, body image is such a big part of our society today. It's like lose weight or, take supplements, some drugs, do surgery, uh, plastic surgery on your face, your body, your chest, your thighs, your buttocks, your breasts. There's so much that we do to ourselves because we aren't satisfied with our bodies, or we're fighting getting older, or aging, or we see a wrinkle that we don't like, so we got to get it done. Or we're in a field where people have certain expectations where we need to change those expectations or their views, or if we feel that people um, are going to pay us more if we alter our bodies, or if we look better, or sometimes just to satisfy our self esteem. We do these things because we want to feel better about ourselves. And yes, that's okay. But what the problem becomes is that it's become an industry. And it's a very challenging industry, very challenging world that we live in. And if you're not feeling good about yourself, then there's ways for you to go out there and carve yourself up. We could go into all the different ways that people do, but just think about it. Think about what people do to themselves to accept themselves or be accepted by others. There are a lot of you out there that are doing it. Um, so when it comes to our bodies, we have to realize that people are constantly bombarded with unrealistic and potentially harmful images of ideal body types. And this can make it difficult to accept, love, and feel confident in your own body, which is critical. It is also important to learn what your body can physically do and become comfortable with these capacities. Think about it. Humans know what a body can do, in the sense that nobody can know exactly what their body is actually capable of doing, at least before experimenting with it. And that is from a philosopher, Spinoza. And he's basically letting us know that there is a distinction between how people perceive their bodies and how their bodies engage in actions. In order to accept your body, it's important to get in touch with both of these aspects of your body on your own terms. I mean, imagine what people are paying just to change their bodies, and oftentimes it's not for the better, it's for the worse. The consequences of this can be quite deadly, I assure you. And there's people who are out there, they're just willing to do it no matter what. They want change. And does it feel good? Yes, it does in certain instances. However, for every action, there's a reaction. I mean, can we really stop ourselves from getting older? No, you can't. Can you stop yourself from gaining weight? Yes, you can. And there are many ways, surgery, right? But we do also need to be practical about what we do to our bodies. And even when it comes to weight gain, let's look at what we eat. What we eat today really will determine how your body reacts to it. In the sense, if you're eating foods that are high in sugar and fats and not healthy for you, I can't even explain that terminology about what did they say? They said, you are what you eat. And realistically, we really are what we eat. I mean, what happens is it's so hard for people to lose weight. So that's not easy, but it takes work. It takes a lot of work. And constantly, you got to remember if you were a certain weight when you were younger, you might not be that weight as you get older. Your metabolism slows down. The food that you eat, you're not as active. You're not as young. So there are a lot of things to consider. But you do need to be aware that you need to recognize and appreciate who you are. Make a list of your most pleasurable moments and include as many details as possible, such as who you were with, what you were doing, where you were, and I want you to reflect on what these have in common. Was it the type of people you were with, the amount of excitement produced, or simply the setting, like being in nature or in a big city? As you realize the conditions under which your body has received the most pleasure in the past, try maximizing the amount of time you spend in similar situations in the past. Like, every person has a unique body, which means you'll need to experiment and find out what gives you pleasure. We do need to know that when it comes to Americans, less than half of Americans can describe themselves as particularly happy with their present conditions, partly because they're not entirely certain about what actually makes them happy. So we got to start off simply by thinking back on all the times that you could describe when you were happy. When were you happy? And it's important that you look at your strengths. Recognize what you are naturally good at. Part of having a unique bodily structure and chemistry is coming to terms with the fact that some bodies will naturally be better at some activities than others. If you max out your height growth at 5'2", like, odds are you won't be able to become a world class center in the NBA, but you might become a particularly good horse jockey. Learning to accept your body means learning to accept that your body is better at performing certain actions as opposed to others. It might take you some time to figure this out and find out what activities you may actually be good at. If you aren't sure what activities your body is naturally suited for, spend some time experimenting with ones you'd never imagine yourself to be interested in. Take a class in yoga or pottery. Attend an acting class. Like, there's really no way to know what your body can do until you do it. And I know one thing, like, exercising is a challenge. We know it's needed. Like, let's get real about the situation. If we are overweight, yes, it's eating, yes, but it's also exercising. And sometimes as you get older, like, people love it. Some people go for walks, but then there are other people who they're active enough all day, but it's not burning anything. And the feeling of exercising feels great when you do it. However, with many of us, it doesn't last too long. And there's reasons for that. Because it's work we don't want to do. Can we say that? It's just work we don't want to do. And that's okay, but we don't feel that it's okay. And we know health wise it's not okay if we're not as active. And we know we want to take care of ourselves and we know we need to take care of ourselves. The research says, our friends say it, our families say it, everyone says you gotta take care of your health, you gotta take care of your body, you gotta lose weight if you're overweight, or you gotta, and there's just so many messages out there, and enough is enough. I mean, realistically, we have to find a common ground. And with all the negativity out there, the common ground could be hard to find, but we do have to find it. And if you're doing things, even if you're exercising a lot and you're building your body up or overbuilding your body, that could be problematic too. You could be too muscular. There's so many criticisms out there that, we just have to identify what we like about our body and our appearance. Like, even people with terrible body image can find something about their bodies to appreciate. It's important that you learn to love and appreciate all of your body's qualities, including physical ones. Don't allow yourself to get hung up on qualities that bother you. Only focus on the positive. And it's hard to do. I know it's very challenging to do, but it's easier if you take some steps to, like, get rid of some of that negativity. You may currently be unhappy with your thighs. Perhaps you think they are chubby or scrawny, but try to be and put on something positive and think positive, right? You may wish that you had slightly thinner thighs, but they do an excellent job propelling you up hills, or you may think your legs are spindly, but you are among the few that can really pull off wearing skinny jeans. If it's not one thing, it's another. I mean, when does it really end? But we have to find out what's good and what feels good to us and accentuate that, work on it. But the truth be told, and I know this is going to be hard for many of you, we're just going to have to accept our bodies as it is. And this means not trying to change who we are or focus on qualities we don't like about ourselves. We're going to have to learn to enjoy our bodies, how we move, how we feel, and how we get around. We're going to have to let go of how we used to look, especially if your body has undergone changes from pregnancy, childbirth, injuries, medical conditions, could be health, relationships. Relationships, they can impact somebody. You know what I'm talking about. Your woman runs away from you. Next thing you know, you're munching. You're killing it. You're just indulging. You're finding a pleasure of your own through that sandwich, right? Or that manwich. Either way, you are changing yourself based on how you feel. But I would suggest that you don't push yourself on a diet unless your doctor has advised and you're tripping. Learn to listen to your body and eat at a comfortable pace and amount. Don't deny yourself food or beat yourself up about how much you eat. I mean, I gotta tell you, there's some food out there that it's so hard to resist. But I think one of the things is to stay away from those stores. But it's so hard. I mean, we're living in 2020 and we know we're not going to live forever and we want to eat some of that stuff. And some of food, like food is addictive, It could be. I really believe it's addictive, especially that good stuff. You know what I'm talking about. We all have them meals, and there's plenty out there. I mean, as the world grows and the population grows and the variety of food grows, I mean, come on, just traveling. That's one thing I love about traveling. When you go traveling, you have an opportunity to eat all different types of food. And in some of these northern countries or northwestern countries, supposedly more advanced, we have access to all different types of food where we don't even really need to go anywhere. But I would suggest traveling and just eating foods from all over the world is just a beautiful thing in itself. That's an education. But I can tell you it's a beautiful thing. We all can't do it, but if you can, appreciate that in itself. It's just a plus in your life, right? Being here in North America, everybody's talking about all these quick fixes, right? But I would really suggest that we avoid, if we really want to take ourselves seriously and feel good about ourselves, we're going to have to learn to avoid the negative thoughts. We have to realize how much time we devote to negative thoughts. Negative thoughts do nothing to improve your self image. Try to spend a day or two actively reflecting upon how often you think about your body. How often do you think or say something negative about your body? How often do you have positive thoughts? Chances are you are far more critical than positive. I'm telling you, I've seen some people with some body, and I'm like, my goodness, damn. And the truth of the matter is, they look like tens, right? And you can look at them and like, man, that is some serious body. And you know what? They're saying negative things about themselves, or they always complaining. And when we're in those groups and we hear those people who got those uh, comments, oh, you know what? I really need to do something. They're only doing that to mess with us. We're sitting up there admiring them, looking at their body, and they got some negative things to say about themselves. And they're only saying it to get our attention so that we can go, oh no. Oh no, you're not fat at all, or you're not thick up there, your hair's not big at all. They want to hear that opposite. They want to hear, not at all, right? So they think, really? And then they just get off on that stuff. Those people are sickening. They get on my nerves. Because the truth is, none of us are perfect. We have our goods and our negatives, but if we try to get attention through these comments, it's degrading. But also, we know sometimes we're all sitting there looking at people that do that. And it's nice to give compliments, but when people are looking for too much attention, it is despicable. However, let's get back to reality, because the truth is, a lot of us say that negative stuff about ourselves. I mean, we go up, oh, I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I need to do, like, listen to me. Give yourself a break. Take it one day at a time. And that's a beautiful part of life. If you could take it one day at a time and work on something that just makes you feel good. But just accept yourself. Right? Like, just make sure that those negative thoughts aren't taking over your brain. Consider keeping a tally in a journal, a notepad, or on your phone for this task. Like, carry a notebook with you when possible and quickly jot down each negative thought that comes up. Include whether or not the negative thought was related to the way you might have looked. At the end of the day, you will likely be amazed at how much more negative you are throughout a single day than you realize. I'm serious. It usually doesn't come out. But the funny thing is, you can be very critical on yourself, but the moment someone says something about you, oh, you become defensive. You just jump right out of your skin. It's true, right? You can somebody be like, wait a minute, you're giving mixed messages. I'm hearing you talking all that negative about yourself all day long. But then when I got something to say, oh, you want to jump down my back? I'm confused. Well, you're really not confused. You're a drama queen, right? But the point is that we have negative thoughts and we have to get rid of these negative thoughts. It's not easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy to get rid of these negative thoughts. And you know what? When you see these perfect people on those commercials, that's a negative thought. Yes, people, you've been conditioned. Those people who are perfect on those commercials, you've seen it. Some of those Budweiser or Blue Light commercials where those beautiful people are drinking beer. Like, that's why it's alcohol, people. Like, seriously. Those people are perfect on those commercials. What? They're at the beach in their shorty shorts and they're looking all beautiful and perfect. But realistically, come on. Go to a bar and see where those beach people are. Unless you're in like Florida or something, nobody's looking like that. But there are people that keep it together, but you know they're working their butts off because beer, right? Beer stays right here. You know, it will pull you left, right, and center, especially if you're eating good. The best feeling you could get is when you're drinking beer and then you're eating your food, and oh my goodness. But there are consequences for it. However, I just want to say that there's a propaganda machine going on out there in the media on how we should look. And when you see those perfect people in the commercials, look at what they're taking. You know, look at what they're doing to their bodies. You see shows like Botched, right? You see these makeup commercials. You see all these programs out there that will give you the impression that things are good for you when they're actually not because they're out there to sell things. Like that show I told you about, Botched, that surgical show where they're showing people and how they correct all that stuff that's been happening. Oh, it's heart wrenching. And then they come along with that show, Dr. Pimple. If you seen that show, I tell you right now, I was watching that show. I was eating some popcorn, chilling out. I watched Dr. Pimple, and I threw up because I couldn't believe people were walking around with these abscesses on their body. It's unfortunate. I'm not making fun of these people, but I couldn't take it. I was really like, what happened to restricted? Like, we used to have restricted when we used to grow up. Like, there was PG, rated G, and restricted. Now it's just unrestricted. You can see anything that you want to see. You might get a little disclaimer on there. What you're about to see might be harm. That is garbage. Put back the restricted. Like, where are the editors and censors out there? We are seeing like, I know this is real. But I'm just saying, when you see shows like that, you're just like, oh my goodness. And maybe it is good that we see what's going on. Because, you know, there's a positive and a negative. Negative is I'm sensitive, oversensitive, and I shouldn't be watching that when eating popcorn. I get it. But there's also the reality of, you know what? Maybe we do need to see some of these programs where we're seeing what people are doing. Because when I watch Botch and I'm looking at how people are chopping themselves up to look better, I know it's only temporary when they look better, but it makes them feel good. But I'm thinking, wow, that is a real reality show in the sense that, like, you know, if you're a young person and you see some of that, you might go, wow, like, Botch, like, I would never do that to myself. And that's a good thing if you don't chop yourself up. But then on the other hand, it could be positive seeing Dr. Pimple Show because there are people out there who have pimples all over them. They shouldn't be ashamed of them because it is what it is. But maybe there are people out there who feel that their world is crumbling because they got this thing on their back or their shoulder or their foot or their butt or their face or their neck and they want to get rid of it. And then they see Dr. Pimple. And then they go, hey, I actually could do something about this. I don't have to suffer in silence anymore, which is a great thing if we could do. So I'm not trying to say that everything is terrible, but we need to get rid of the negative thoughts in our head. And we do realize there's good and bad in a lot of shows out there, but there's a machine going on. Be careful. But what I wanted to say is that we have to get rid of some of these negative influences. While this may be difficult in the beginning, it's an important part of accepting your body. As soon as you notice yourself starting to have a negative thought, replace it with something positive about yourself. Give yourself time to get into the habit of thinking positively. Really, like try your best. Try each day by thinking of a few positive thoughts. Remind yourself of these thoughts throughout the day when you start feeling critical of yourself. For example, you might say, I really like the way this new haircut makes me feel. Right? And that's a good positive thing. But you also got to go a little step further. You got to limit your exposure to the negative media images. Try to cut back or stop engaging with television shows, movies, magazines, or blogs that present an unrealistic or negative depiction of the body. Remind yourself that a majority of photos circulating the internet and magazine subscriptions have been altered to make the model's picture appear more in line with standard notions of beauty and sexuality. A lot of it is just pampered stuff. Like, right? It's not even realistic. Psychologists are worried that with the trends increase over the last 20 years, these images are unrealistic, right? Regarding what a body should look like. Don't allow yourself to be sucked in by these empty caricatures with no reference in the real world. Seriously, think about it, okay? Find a therapist if you have to who uses CBT, and that's cognitive behavioral therapy. Many of these techniques used by these therapists or psychologists focus on the present and short term using goals as therapy. While it's best to see a therapist for CBT, you can begin to practice it on your own. When you notice a negative thought about yourself, right? Stop yourself. Take a deep breath. Try to locate the evidence for your belief. Has anyone actually told you this aspect of your body was flawed? If so, was the person just trying to hurt you or maybe making a joke? There are many psychologists who believe that in many cases, if you have an unrealistic expectation of how you should look, you'll have a distorted body image. It's important to notice that when these unrealistic expectations show up in your thought processes, that you can hopefully challenge these ideals with concrete information. One of the hardest things that you're going to find is when you have to handle the negative people in your life. You are already working on being kinder to yourself and focusing on the positive aspects of yourself. But you also need to assess the other people in your life. Do you get criticism from your friends and family? Do they tell you that you need to lose weight, dress differently, or change your hair? If so, it's important that you find ways to address these negative influences. And I do mean it. And it's going to be one of the hardest things you do, especially when you have family and they're so used to, they've been conditioned to make these comments. That's a challenge. A lot of us are afraid to address this. Or you have friends that you've known forever and maybe they're your only friend. And you know, like we all know, if you say something to those friends, they're going to get their back up, right? They're going to come defensive. They're going to make you're being too serious. Or, you know what, take it easy and, lighten up. And what's your problem? You get those comments. They're not easy to take, and you still have to plow on through and deal with it. I didn't say it's going to be easy, but it has to be done, right? Keep in mind that you probably won't be able to cut out your close friends and family in the same way that you can stop buying Vogue or watching America's Next Top Model. Although, as hard as it may be, if they body shame you or are overly harsh and critical, you need to be willing to have a respectful yet firm discussion with them about how their words or behaviors hurt you. I'm serious. Do it. Do it. And if you have to do it more than once, do that. You can do that. The counselor is telling you it works a lot of the times. If you tell some of your closest friends, hey, it's a hard challenge, but you could sit down with them and say, this is hurting me. Some people get offensive, but more than likely they're going to understand if they're really good friends that those comments are getting to you and they'll lighten up. Seriously, I know you're going to have to be brave. You're going to have to be a risk taker. And I don't even care if you have to talk to adults like that. You got to tell them. You got to say it. Forget all that suffering and silence stuff. And even when you tell them and say it, you got to just be happy with who you are and get away from those negative people. right? Seriously, get away from them. Find some other friends. Or if, let's say you have a friend that's negative, right? And they're your only friend. Go find another friend. Don't tell them though. Go find another friend. Start building up that relationship and then drop that negative person, right? As opposed to just dropping that negative person if you're not really comfortable being alone. There's ways to do it. I didn't say it's easy. Nothing in life is easy, right? But it's doable. But if you want some change, right, do it. Think about it. You don't want people hurting you, so you got to kind of eliminate some of those people out of your life. And you might even have to mix yourself into different social groups. See, because as you try out new activities, talk to people you might typically ignore or shy away from. Talking to strangers might feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you do, the easier and better it will get. Seriously, no matter how uncomfortable you might feel at first, keep in mind that isolating, right, yourself from other people can be even worse. It's just so important to become more comfortable engaging with new people, especially if the people you are currently around aren't supportive of your body image or aren't positive influences. It's much easier to accept your body and challenge any unrealistic ideals you might have if you're surrounded by people that accept you and your discoveries. Right? Just you're gonna have to change your mindset. Really, you do. There's beautiful parts about being a human being as you can make some changes. And I suggest one of the biggest changes is to drop some of these negative influences and adopt a new attitude. Focus on the positive. No, it's not impossible. It's not hard, especially if people aren't in your ear all the time, right? Pay attention to the compliments you do receive. A lot of us we expect them. Really, no, seriously, it's true. Some of us get these compliments. Oh, thank you, and that's it. But do you really appreciate them? Rather than look out for criticisms, enjoy the compliments you get. Pay attention to the content of other people's compliments and remember them. Write them down so that you can remind yourself of them later, especially during your moments of weakness or your darker moments or moments when you feel vulnerable. But I also got to say, and I'm going to tell you straight up, that you got to give a little to get some too, right? Be positive. Practice being positive on other people. Hey, it doesn't hurt to say, hey, you're looking good today. Or I appreciate what you did. You know what? You're really a capable person. I can see great things in you. But be genuine. Like people are doing wonderful things out there, right? Just appreciation goes a long way. Say something positive. You ain't got to give them nothing, but some attention, some positive attention, right? Pay it forward, right? Do good things. When people do good things to you, do good things to them. You know, tell a person who's not feeling good about themselves something to make them feel good about themselves. You got to give a little to get a little. That's how it is. We always get something, right? We do. So instead of dismissing other people's compliments or convincing yourself that they're just being polite, take them at their word and trust that they are not just humoring you. Consider that others are giving you the honest assessments. Accept their positive words graciously. Do that, right? You got to like yourself. Learn to like yourself. If you don't like yourself, learn to like yourself. Okay? You're going to have to consistently identify what you like about yourself. And people are like, and I've said this, when you say to people, what do you like about yourself? I don't know. Well, that's okay if you don't know, right? That's okay. Do a little bit of history or what do you like to do and what are you good at? Everybody's good at something, not just what other people tell you. You could be good at eating cake, but you're still good at it. That's what I'm saying, right? You could be good at making a cake. That's still a beautiful thing. I don't care, right? You notice those cooking shows, most of the people who are really great cooks are overweight. So what? You love them, don't you? You love that cake, but you love those celebrities that are big. Look at all the celebrities that are out there that are overweight. But that's okay. They accept themselves and they're doing what they love, and you should too, right? Seriously, right? You got to do this. Every time you notice yourself thinking about the negative, you got to remind yourself about something that really interests you or motivates you. This is going to help you understand and appreciate all the wonderful aspects of yourself, right? Take pride in things. You'll realize that your body is just one part of who you are. Like, there are people who are dependable people. And I'm not just talking about the body. I'm just talking about feeling good. You might not have the best body, but if you're a great worker, or if you're a caregiver, or you do your job with love and appreciation and respect, and you're good at it, that is still a positive feeling. Don't just focus on the body. I think just feeling good, the body will come, but feel good about yourself. I think we got to get there. We got to figure out what we're doing matters. And also, if you're contributing to society, I think that's a beautiful thing too. Seriously. Like, think about COVID-19. Think about the people who are out there doing great work. And I don't just mean frontline workers, I mean all workers, hotel workers, street cleaners, right? People who are, cleaning up after us, people who are creating for us, people who are staying on the job, people who are working in restaurants, people who are there for us as human beings. That's what we have to appreciate. The body is just part of it, but we focus a lot on the body. If you don't like something about the body, then try to change it. If you can't change it, it's okay. All right? You ain't the only one. I've barely seen everyone look the same in any community. And if you don't feel great about your body and somebody keeps telling you, get rid of them. And if you're a big person, go around big people. If you're a small person, go around small people. But if you're doing anything that's unhealthy to yourself, don't do it. Right? Right? Find ways. Get out of there. Get out of that environment. Go places where you want to be loved and cared for. Do good things. A lot of times you got to put it out there to get it back. So that's what we're talking about. So we're going to talk about this subject again, because I know it's a great subject, and I know there's people out there that are wonderful. And if you ain't got a full head of hair, who cares? Right? Seriously, stop worrying about it. Do what you got to do. Be happy with yourself. I know it's hard, but it's not really that hard if you stop worrying about all the judgment. See, judgment is one of our biggest challenges on earth. The judgments, right? What do other people think? Or even if you don't feel so great about yourself, you're going to have your ups and downs. Work on it slowly if you can. That's it. We got to start somewhere, people. We really do. But I really say focus, find the positive. Like, do that. We rarely do that. Sometimes we wait for other people to tell us about ourselves, and then when they're not telling us, we're out there seeking and looking. See, this is about relationships too. The counselor could go on and on and on. Wonderful subject. I talk about even people who are in relationships, and because somebody's not telling them they're sexy, they're running out there trying to sex somebody else up. It's true. We got some serious problems, but we can work them out. But I'm telling you, the funny thing is, somebody run out there for some other attention, then they want to turn around and be with the other person. We're confused. So we're gonna work through this, people. I'm telling you, we got some work to do. But I want you to accept yourself and appreciate yourself, and accept you're gonna make mistakes. We're going from the body to the brain. You're gonna make some mistakes, and that's okay. If you got another day to change your ways, that's what you do. Okay? You're going to have people in your life telling you, oh, you did this bad, you did this bad, you did this bad. But you know what? You don't need a religion to do good. You don't need somebody to have to take you to class to do good. What you need to do is believe in yourself and say, yeah, I've done bad. I've made mistakes. Oh, the world's judging me. You know what? Judge yourself and change yourself. Right? Go places where you can be accepted and go out there to do some good work. Change it. And if this is the thing too, when people who do bad things and they do little things and then they change, and somebody doesn't recognize their change, then they want to go back. Well, you didn't recognize me. You didn't look at me because I tried to change, but you didn't. Forget that. If you try to change, just keep going in your direction. Live your life on the premise that you're here to contribute. If you contributed some negative things, that's okay. This is a complex world. I don't know what's going on. And certain things go on. If you ain't really purposely trying to hurt anybody, if you hurt people, try to make amends. That's one of the hardest things for us to do. Man, I want to say to my listeners, be like the wise old bird and spread the word. The counselor is here. All right. And I want to support all my people out there. And I want you to realize and love and care about yourself and care about those people that can't care about themselves. Do something a little different today if you can. If you see somebody down, even in your family, and you know they've been pricks, they haven't been nice to people, and all of a sudden something bad happens to them, don't get joy out of it. Realize that, you know what, people only change sometimes when we care about them and show them that, yeah, everybody makes mistakes. You understand? But if you could change that, you do that, right? People hurt people. But if we could stick together and work together, we could get through it all. I'm hoping they come with a vaccine, but it's not the I'm going to tell you something, people. This is the other thing. The counselor is telling you that they're talking about these vaccines that they're coming with, and there's a lot of people out there who've been sick and have died, and there's people who've been sick and who have recovered. And I want to tell you something. With this vaccine coming, the human spirit is a beautiful thing. If you've come through it and you've been fortunate enough to get through this virus, you know, just show your appreciation. And those people who have gotten through it and their immune system strong, even when it comes to taking this vaccine, let's consider the older people. And let's consider the children. Let's consider the frontline workers. If your body's strong and you're really not sick and you're okay, let them people. Don't just run to get a vaccine because you're like, oh, I want to get it because I don't want to die. Well, listen, I get that, but you know what? You can run out there and get run over by a truck. You don't know. But what I'm saying is, if you're healthy and you got a strong immune system, trust me, let that immune system work. That strong immune system, let it work. If you decide to get the shot, get it. It's a beautiful thing. But let the more vulnerable people in the population get themselves together. All right? Let them get that shot. The ones who are going to, you know, who have a bright future or whose future is, you know, it's in a situation where it might not be long before they're gone. But try to make sure if you're strong and you're healthy, don't be at rush to just be greedy. Let's think about the other people. When you get it, you get it. All right? Let's not panic. If we know that they have something coming, it's a beautiful thing. Let's work on that. Let's appreciate that. But let's also work to get it to the people who need it most. And I mean, North America, yes, we do need it. But let's make sure those countries out there who are less fortunate, who don't have the infrastructure or the logistics to get it out there, let's make sure that they get it. You are committed. I want people who are listening here to spread the word. Your obligation is to make sure that those who do not have, and I could say this about everything, I could go on and on and on about starvation and malnutrition and disease, those people should be taken care of. There shouldn't be people in this world who have excess, period, because you know why? We're living in a world where there's so many people that need, those people who are, you know, exceeding their limits, like way beyond. It should be not just sharing, but showing and caring. But I'm saying at this point, it's a crucial point in society where we look in this world and we say, look, we know what's coming, but it's not coming for everybody. It could be years for those sick countries. And I don't want to see them falling down further. I want us to start picking them up. Start thinking about the less fortunate before you reach out there and grab your vaccine. Start thinking about what those other people need to do. We shouldn't feel good about our lives when we know people are suffering that could be helped. That's a message in itself. So I want to say to my people out there, be like the wise old bird and spread the word and take care of yourself and take care of others. We're going to talk. Take care of yourself, people.